Hi, I'm James with British Customs. Today we'll be installing these retro headlight ears on this 2022 Triumph Street Twin. We want to start removing these. We're not removing them completely, just loosen them. The Phillips head screwdriver so that we can get them out of the way a little bit. Now we need to remove these two Torx head screws going into the ears. You're going to want to cover your fender so we don't drop anything on it. It's a T25 Torx bit. There's a washer on top of this screw, so if it doesn't come down, sometimes it sticks to the rubber. You want to make sure you pluck it out of there so it doesn't fall down later and scratch your fender. That one didn't come down. Just get up there with a little screwdriver. Get it out of there. Next, we want to remove these screws from the sides of the headlight using our T40 bit. Make sure you're supporting your headlight so that it doesn't fall down and hit your fender. Make sure you have a rag covering your fender. I'm just going to lower the headlight down. Let it sit there. Before we do anything else, we want to cover our tank for protection. Using a 6mm Allen hex bit. I'll take off the top handlebar clamp. Make sure you're supporting your handlebar before you take this clamp off. If you take a rag, just wrap it around your handlebar here. We can rest it in there. Now, using a 38mm socket, use a 6-point because this is a nice chrome nut. You don't want to mess it up with a 12-point. We're going to take this nut off. Now we want to put the handlebars back on. You don't need to fully tighten these because they're going to come back off again. But you don't want them flopping around either, so just make them snug. Okay. Now you want to loosen these screws with a 6mm Allen hex bit. Do the same on the other side. You don't have to remove them all the way, but back them out enough that you know that they're definitely loose. Now you could definitely do this without having a jack under your bike, but I still recommend that you support your bike with a jack if you have one, and it may even make it easier to pull this off. You want to use a rubber mallet and start tapping on the bottom of the tree. Go over here where you can see a little better. Yeah. So you definitely don't want to use a metal hammer when you do this. You want to be careful of your fuel tank and anything else that you don't want to be denting. Now, this is coming loose. We can pull them out of there. What we need to do next, using our 4mm Allen hex bit, we need to remove all the screws from the clamps. Once you have them all removed, we need to match them with a set of ears. You can see that these are both the same, and we have two different styles. So you have the wider portion and a narrower portion. One good thing to remember, or easy way to remember, is that the wide portion on the bottom one will go to the bottom, and the wide portion on the top one will go to the top. Now you may want to pre-assemble these before you put them on, if it makes it easier for you, but it'll make it harder to actually put them on. So I recommend putting them on one at a time. Just try and make sure you get the orientation correct when you put them on. You want to be supporting the tree so it doesn't fall down, because once it comes loose, it's going to be loose. Okay. And this is why I recommend just putting the clamps on one at a time rather than pre-assembling. Because you can slide one in like that. Remember, you want your wider side on the bottom one to the bottom, and on the top one to the top. And that way your bracket is going to line up like that. If you have these the other way, the holes just won't line up. There's no way to do it. So if you have that and your holes aren't lining up, then you probably put it on upside down. So now we can do the left side. Turn this that way. Wide side down on the bottom one, wide side up on the top one. And you can just slide those all the way down from now. We'll put the clamp back on. Now we need to tap this tree back down. You don't want to just try and hit in one area or try and hit straight down the middle. You need to just tap around little by little, and she'll start going. If you try and tap in one place, it's going to kick over and make it even harder on you. Again, make sure you're using a rubber mallet, not a metal hammer. Okay. Now we need to remove our handlebar again using our 6mm Allen hex bit. Make sure you're supporting the bar so it doesn't fall down. Get our rag. Now we can put this nut back on. Now we want to torque down our top nut using a 38mm 6-point socket to 90 Newton meters. Now we're going to put our handlebar back in the clamp. Move the rag. With our 6mm Allen hex bit. We're going to snug the top, and we'll snug the bottoms. Okay. Then we'll tighten these to 24 Newton meters, starting with the top. And then the bottom. Now we're going to tighten these pinch bolts using our 6mm Allen hex bit. And we're going to torque each one down to 24 Newton meters. All right, so now we're gonna install the ear. Just start putting these in finger tight. And we're gonna put both of them on and put the headlight on before we final tighten them down. Do the same on the other side. Okay, now we're going to put our headlight in. Just finger tight. For now, we just want to hand tighten the headlight using your T40 Torx bit. So now you want to set your headlight so you have a bit of a gap up here. And if you start with your headlight at a 90-degree angle here, you're pretty good. And you'll need to adjust it a little bit in the end. That's why you want to leave a little bit of a gap there. And then you just want to make sure your space is even between both brackets. This is a 4mm Allen hex bit. Just snug it, and we'll go over to the other side and do the same. And then we'll make sure everything's straight, and we'll final tighten. It helps to look from over the top of the handlebars and make sure everything is straight. The headlight's aiming straight, not off to the side. And now we can go and tighten. All right, now we want to torque these screws down to 10 Newton meters, and there is a torque pattern here. We want to start with the top one on the top one, and the top one on the bottom one, and then the bottom one on the top one, and the bottom one on the bottom one. Do the same on the other side. Again, we're going to 10 Newton meters, top, top, bottom, bottom, or 4mm hex bit. So now we're going to torque down the headlight. Before you do that, you want to adjust your headlight, which you can find in your service manual, exactly how to adjust the height of your headlight. Using a T40, 10 Newton meters. Same on the other side. So after we're done installing the headlight ears, we can put our boots back where they belong. Loosen that screw a little bit, your Phillips head screwdriver. Just slide it up. Tighten it down. Tighten it down. And that's our retro headlight ears on this 2022 Triumph Street Twin.